First thing you want to make sure is that you have your knees bent, because you don't want to, let's go ahead and roll over in the center. You want to have your knees bent so that in any direction that I push, he can push back. If I push this way, he can push back. If I push this way, he can push back. If I push this way, he can push back. Now the pivoting or moving your base is where when I go to push in this direction, he doesn't have very much balance in this direction. So what he can do is shift his stance, but he's facing this direction. And see, now he has that base. If I'm here and he shifts his stance a little bit by moving, now his base is strong again. So the thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have our base strong and that the opponent's base is weak. So if I were attacking him, I would want to come on this line where his base is weak. You want his base to be weak and our base to be strong. So I want to attack on a line where he doesn't have balance. All right, if we were fighting, I would try to take him on one of those lines where his stance is weak, where I'd try to push on one of these points that takes him into a place where his stance is weak. One of the things that you can do, and we're going to cover this later, is we're going to take the upper body and involve it. So we can push on the upper body to make the base weaker, which we can also, when we try to evade, we can try to push people into a position where they're off balance so that it's harder for them to get a hold of you. The second thing that we're going to cover is rooting, and that's taking and getting into a base. So when you're just moving around, you're not in that base position, that solid base position. So what we have to do is we have to root, we have to find that place. So if he's standing here and I'm moving towards him and he's too upright, he drops into that stance. Okay, now that's what we would call a stomp. He's stomping into the stance. He's just digging his feet into the ground, getting that rooted position where he's finding that place where he has balance, which we're calling the base. So when I get close to him, if he's not already in a position, which you would want to be in a position where you already have balance. If you're not in a position, you have to root, you have to find the balance. So he's going to root when I get near him so that he's in a solid position. All right, now you can use this however you want to use it. You're not going to use it how I use it because I'm a fighter and you're playing football. So the way that you guys can use this is if you're running or if you're in a position where a guy is about to hit you and you're unprepared, or if you get knocked in a certain direction and then you need to reset your stance, you can use that stomp. All right, so what you do with your hands we're going to work on later, but for right now we're just going to work on the footwork or the base. So if I'm coming in this direction, he doesn't want to root into a direction where he's going to be off balance to me. He wants to root in the direction where he's going to have that solid base. So when I come in towards him, if he were facing this direction, he would root in this direction so that he could get that solid stance so that I can't knock him over. All right, so if I just come in and test this stance out, if he roots and I push against him solid here, he's got that shoulder nice and solid. He can push against me nice and solid. If he's trying to evade me and he roots like that and he pushes against me, he's got a much more solid stance than me. Now one thing that you can do to try to use this against people is you can try to let them be off balance and then you're in this solid stance. So if I'm reaching out for him and I go to tackle him and I reach out past my point of balance, if he's got that rooted stance, that means that he has balance and I don't. So that means that he has an advantage. Now this guy might be getting ready to tackle you, but you've got that nice rooted stance. All right, so where you place that stance falls into timing. We talked about timing, sensitivity, and deception. This falls into the category of timing. You want to do this at the right time. You don't want to do this after a guy's got you flying through the air and halfway to the ground tackle. That's not going to be of any use to you. So you want to make sure that you time this perfectly. And when you use this, your coaches can work with you. Your coaches can work with you on that. But what I want to work on is just the basics, and then you guys can build on that. All right. So again, if I'm coming towards him, he doesn't want to root just facing forward. There's no purpose in that. He wants to root in the direction that's facing the guy that he's attacking here. So he's going to root towards me. So whichever direction I decide to come at him from, he's going to root towards me. And basically, you just want to gauge maybe towards wherever your front foot is facing, that's kind of where the guy is. So he wants his front foot to be facing me. So if I shoot for him, he wants to drop that front foot. And I'll go ahead and show you guys an exercise that I like to use to test your stance. If he drops there, what I want to do is kind of just push in every direction, and he's going to be able to feel where he's got a weakness in his stance. And obviously, from here, from here, he can feel if I push on this shoulder, that's a really weak spot for him. So, let's use that. If I'm attacking this guy here, and I go to move in on him, if I see that stance, if I use that shoulder to attack, you hit the pads right there. If I use that shoulder to attack, I know that that's a really weak spot, even when he's rooted. That's what you want to figure out. Figure out the weakest points in these spots. When he roots into this stance here, I know that this shoulder can get him off balance. So that's what I want to go for. If he's rooted, if I see another guy who's real solid like that. Another thing is, when we start working on the upper body, you can figure out upper body points. We just did the shoulder. The elbow is another point that can get him off balance because it takes the whole body with it. The same thing, the helmet. You can take that helmet, and wherever you take the head, the rest of the body is going to go. So you can use that as an off balance point. Now you can't do too much with the legs because you don't want to get too low. And as far as how you guys tackle, that's going to be up to your coach how you guys can use this. You can't really use too many off balance points on the legs, but you can use the hips. Even if he's solid into that stance, I can push into the hips and get him a little bit off balance. Now how you guys use that, like I said, will be up to your coach. I don't want you guys punching each other or doing anything like that.